Doom Eternal is an extremely colorful game, and some people really don't like that. The Chainsaw's loot drops are bright and bold, the diverse enemy roster complements the game's retro arcade design, and each uniquely themed level has a fresh color palette that sets it apart from everything that came before it. The Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic and 90s action movie storylines were a departure from the grim art direction that's present throughout most of Doom 2016, and while some praised Eternal for breathing more life into the Doom universe, not everyone was pleased. Those who weren't happy with the neon green weapon pickups and overly goofy cosmetic items should have no trouble jumping into the world of Doom: The Dark Ages, which has been described as darker, grittier, and more sinister than anything we've seen in the past 4 years. The story will be taken more serious this time. Each twist in the narrative will be presented in a natural manner instead of being shoved into a random codex entry. We'll learn more about the Doomslayer's past and the dark fantasy world that turned him into the hero we all know and love. While shifting the overall tone and reapproaching the method of storytelling are steps in the right direction, Doom Eternal still has a wide variety of flaws that the community has been passionately discussing since the game's launch in March of 2020. Thankfully, it seems like id Software does plan on fixing their mistakes going forward, as game director Hugo Martin provided even more details on how Dark Ages will push the modern franchise in a bold new direction during a recent Xbox developer panel. As we go over these new reveals along with some of the previously announced information, I'll be highlighting how each individual change is a direct response to your criticism from both 2016 and Eternal. Many people will be very happy to hear that platforming likely won't be making a return this time around, at least not to the same extent. The extreme verticality featured in the previous entry's multi-layered arenas was often present between the game's combat encounters as well, requiring players to weave between flaming hazards while jumping from one platform to the next. It was a great way to teach newcomers how to manage several tasks at once as they soared through the air, but it quickly became unnecessary filler content towards the end of the main campaign, and the expansions did little to fix this. Dark Ages will have an incredibly heavy focus on grounded combat, meaning there's no room for monkey bars, jump pads, meat-hook grapple points, or the platforming segments that so many of you have wanted to get rid of. Doom 2016 did have some light traversal elements scattered throughout the game, and it's likely that something similar will return, but nothing that's on the same level as what was present in Eternal. Backtracking, secret hunting, and keycard searching were integral to the gameplay loop of the classics, and while 2016 does include watered-down versions of these iconic features, Doom Eternal outright replaced them in favor of a much more linear campaign structure. The overly simplistic map layouts and easy-to-find secrets have received their fair share of criticism throughout the years, which is why each one of Dark Ages' massive levels will focus on using backtracking to re-add the depth and non-linearity that hasn't been seen in nearly 20 years. The reintroduction of the expansive classic mission format allows complex secrets to be hidden throughout the game, so you'll have to put in some extra elbow grease if you want to collect the full line of limited edition Doomslayer action figures. Players will no longer be shoved into locked rooms over and over again while they fight waves of enemies, as this game will pit the Slayer against literal armies of demons across huge battlefields that are bigger than anything we've seen before. Game director Hugo Martin has described this as the biggest Doom game ever. The next generation technology has allowed them to add limitless amounts of powerful creatures throughout any given space. Everything has been building up to this. We'll be going toe-to-toe with incredible bosses, shredding through overwhelming hordes of evil, and of course, getting our hands on the strongest weapons the Doom universe has to offer. Both of the previous entries have several guns and modifications that the casual audience tends to completely ignore. 2016 allowed players to easily go through the entire game using nothing more than the super shotgun. And despite Eternal's efforts to make everything feel useful, weapon mods like the microwave beam and full auto alongside things like the Unmaker are neglected by anyone that isn't going out of their way to find uses for them. Instead of trying to rebalance the mods and adjust pre-existing weapons again, id Software has decided to introduce brand new tools like the Skull Crusher, which has been labeled as a spread shotgun on multiple occasions. If the full auto shotgun role has been given to an entire weapon, there is a chance that we may not even see the traditional combat shotgun make an appearance in the Dark Ages, and I'm honestly completely fine with that. We'll be expanding the Slayer's kit and acquiring what Hugo has been calling weapons of mass destruction as a way to keep things fresh and make this entry stand apart from everything we've seen in the past. Another huge combat complaint the community has been adamantly expressing is the lack of usable mechs despite the broken Atlan featured in the Fortress of Doom, and that's obviously getting fixed. I'm personally not sold on the concept of mech fights and dragon sections, but I'm still open to seeing what they can do. Hopefully they don't become tedious during replays like Eternal's platforming puzzles and the purple goo. Additional DLC, multiplayer modes, and bonus content has yet to be discussed, although it's fairly safe to assume that they've listened to the endless complaints about battle mode and the ancient gods. It's no secret that id Software missed the mark when attempting to craft a tightly balanced 2v1 asymmetrical multiplayer experience. The majority of players had no real interest in the mode after giving it a few tries. A proper classic deathmatch mode has been one of the most highly requested features since Doom 2016 launched, and it would fit the Dark Ages gameplay loop perfectly. So I would be fairly surprised if they didn't finally give the community what we've all spent the past 8 years begging for. While a new map creator, some form of co-op, and a traditional Horde mode would be amazing additions to the upcoming prequel, we likely won't know more until the game's first big showcase. That should be coming sooner rather than later since it is set to release next year, but a delay to 2026 is still possible. Click on the video that's on screen now to learn more. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, I hope you enjoyed it. That's pretty much all that I have for now though. Until next time.